Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Abiodun Oguniyi. I'm the head of research at GTI Investment Group. You are welcome to Beyond Rent, a Lagos Housing and Capital Forum. We're excited to have you here today, and I hope you are excited to be here too. So we are starting the program now. You are all here. The opening formalities have been done. So I will be calling on my group managing director, Mr. Abubakar Lawal, to give the opening remark. Can you give me a round of applause, please? You're welcome, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've been assigned to carry out the first task of the day, is having to welcome everyone. So I will start by recognizing the esteemed speakers for today, the special guests and fellow colleagues. So to begin with, it gives me a very great pleasure to welcome all of you to GTI, and on behalf of the board and management of the company, you are so much welcome. This is an opportunity, in my view, to present a platform for ideas, to have a serious engagement on contemporary issues that is borders on our economy. And I'm of the opinion that at the end of today's session, because we are very, very lucky to have very knowledgeable people in the room with lots of experiences. And I'm sure we are going to take full advantage of that by having to learn from them and make it very interactive as well by asking questions and make it very engaging so that the knowledge can go around. And I will urge every one of us that at the end of today's session, we don't leave it in the theory space. We try as much as possible to take it to the next level of having to execute some of the takeaways that is going to, be in play today. So again, I want to thank every one of you for making out time to be here today and to make this experience a worthwhile one. On behalf of management and board, again, I welcome everyone to this occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your remarks. And I'm going to be calling on the distinguished Professor Timothy Olugbenga Nubi of the Center for Housing and Sustainable Development, the University of Lagos, who is our keynote speaker for today. Prof is going to be sharing with us his ideas and extensive knowledge about how we can connect housing and capital. We are excited to have you here, Prof, and we look forward to sipping from your deep well of knowledge. Yeah, so can you join me to give him a round of applause as I welcome him to the podium.
Thank you so much. I kept on telling people that clapping does not belong to any band. It's not band A. So it's not the more you clap, the more they charge. And because I noticed that clapping has reduced in most of our gathering. People wear long faces. You are not the cause of Nigerian problems, so don't carry Nigerian problems on your head. And the problem will be resolved anyhow. So we say happy with what you have. I hope you have projected who is working on the projection? Okay. I'm Professor Timothy Benganubi. I've been around for a while. So, for those of you who are listening to this sermon again, because I'm equally a pastor, I'm the proud father of Belumi, my last baby that drove from London to Lagos. So, about 2 years ago, I'm a happy Nigerian. And we've been doing this work for a while. I'm giving us gist quite my paper. It's been quite a weight, my paper. Someone said, as I sat there, I came very early because I was thinking that it would take me about 1 hour, 20 minutes from Unilag down here. So I couldn't even wait to take my breakfast. So I hop into the car, only to get to Terminal Bridge. Around after 10 minutes, we left Unilag. We got to Terminal Bridge. And within 10 minutes, they put the address on the Google map, and it was telling us 9 minutes. I said, So it took us just less than, by 9:15, we were already at the car park. So, I saw one of my friends at the car park. He was also waiting. And somebody told us that, I think it was the one that said, go slow is not the thing of coming to Lagos in the recent time. Do we all agree to that? Those of you that operate here. Today is a public holiday. Which of the holidays? Eh? Oh, so that's why there's no. But the person, public environmental. So by the time you remove those two factors, the traffic is still there. Okay. Maybe the person is not used to this part of the country. But one thing is certain. With the introduction of the withdrawal of oil subsidy, traffic reduced within the mainland. There's no doubt. If you see any traffic anywhere, they're walking on the road. It's not because of I'm telling you that 60% of motor on mainland got off the road. I know many lecturers in University of Lagos that were not bringing their cars to work. Many. When you see traffic, it's the island people, Lekki and Island. They were immune to increase in fuel price. It's the truth. It's the truth. So, but one way or the other, either through oil subsidy or the traffic problem became reduced. It's not like waking up early in the. I know some people that were living at Korodu, they have to rent, they built their house in Korodu, they have to rent a room at Ketu so that they'll be closer to work. I don't think we still have such hold up that you get to your house the following day. We used to have that. So that disappeared. So housing problem will also disappear through one issue or the other. That's the bottom line of where I'm going. I hope they put this thing there, they fix it on time. While I was waiting at the car park, someone equally said, We are waiting. Someone said there are some people that are online. I hope you have made provision for them. Okay. So someone wrote, he said, we are looking towards seeing your, reading your, hearing from you today. I just reply. I say, old gist. I told the person, I said, old gist. And he said, no, we don't need old gist. We need new insights. I laughed. I said, we don't need, it's not that we lack insight. It's only we lack political will. Nigeria is we are one of the most intelligent people on earth. By the time the National Housing Fund was presented in South Africa, the whole world stood and clapped for us. Very innovative. That every worker in Nigeria should contribute 2.5% of their income into a social housing fund. That's a huge source of, and it is not voluntary. It's compulsory. They call it mandatory savings. It was not properly managed at the beginning. They used analog to manage it. So people are not having record of what they contributed. And in fact, it was introduced 1991. By 2006, by the time I was doing 2004, by the time I was doing my PhD, and I was looking at the effectiveness of mortgage finance in Nigeria in my PhD. And I was interviewing Unilag people, staff. And the man told me, they all told me that they saw the money as a tax, not something they could benefit from. So no one was assessing it. So many factors. And I was aware because there was a question in my questionnaire on awareness. Are you aware of this National Housing Fund? Are you aware of the fact that it's a ladder for you to obtain mortgage? How many of you have benefited from it? After 15 years, withdraw from 2.5% from their salary. None in University of Lagos told me they have benefited. Told me they are aware of the purpose. They saw it as one of the withdrawals, as one of the tax. And I said, if at the university level, there is this low knowledge. So because people were not benefiting, there was no campaign, no enlightenment. After about 20 years of withdrawal, under Oshimole, they started under Labour, when Oshimole was here, they started national agitation that they should cancel the project. That people have been contributing, they've not been benefiting. Because people don't know. People are not aware. They don't know how to assess it. And up to today, if I see carry out similar questionnaire, administrators say, we see find out that about 50% of us seated here, we don't, because up to last week, lecturers in University of Lagos, they still don't know how to benefit from the National Housing Fund. And this is a pot. Because it was not well managed, because the administration of the National Fund was not digitized, they were still using analog. You have to go there to update your passbook. Many people don't even have passbook. I've been saving National Housing Fund forever. Up till now, I don't know my balance. You have to get to their head office, submit your passbook before they give you your balance. And I have been lecturing since 1987. By next year, it's 40 years. And they don't know. I don't know my balance. And these are things we are shouting. Digitize it. Let people know this thing. At the end of the day, we are where we are. The pension fund came. What is the withdrawal? What is the contribution from our pension fund? 1.5%. It came almost 10 or 20 years after the National Housing Fund. But today, the pension fund is one of the largest funds in Africa today. 31 trillion, as at the last count. 31 trillion. Where 1.5% is being withdrawn. Which came 20 years after the National Housing Fund that requires withdrawal of 2.5%. If National Housing Fund was properly managed, we found out that today we will have about 100 trillion in the National Housing Fund. When we have a National Housing Fund that is presiding over 100 trillion, pension fund 30 trillion, 31 trillion, we can't gather here and be looking for capital for housing. And the spirit of this, I've started my lecture so, because as I yesterday, I told the person that invited me, I said, I didn't know it was a small gathering. In my head, I was thinking it was an event that will take place in Landmark, because I have 2 programs in Landmark and Echo Hotel. So I said, I prepare for 1,000 people. So as I yesterday, together with my staff in the Center for Housing, we have 120 slides. Now all of us, as I yesterday, 8 o'clock, we were trying to reduce. So we got it reduced to 100, and overnight, I reduced it to 92. So by the time I got the address from him, say for Tinubu, I said, which hall is in Tinubu Street? I realized that it's a small gathering. And I say, and he sent the timetable to me. He said, I'll present for 30 minutes. I said, no way. There is no way I can present 92 slides within 30 minutes. So the only thing I do is to come and tell this story that I've started now. We just discuss around it. We just discuss around this thing. So that when we know, just to, whoever has invited me, thank you so much for inviting me. The MD, thank you so much for endorsing the invitation. For those of us that have come, and for those of us who are looking towards this thing. Like I told the participant who is on YouTube, who has joined on YouTube, that it's not that we don't have insight. It's political will that we don't have. And you can never solve housing problem outside government. Your school is no good. You employ a teacher for your children. Electricity is not working. You bought solar. Water is not running. You sank borehole. You can do all these things. But as far as housing problem in Nigeria is concerned, no individual can ever solve it. It's government. Because the ingredients, the law, the land, the regulatory framework, they're in the hand of government. So nobody can say, I cannot tell you. I say, we don't need government. So we need government. We need government. Government have to buy into it. And because there is no political will, that's why we are where we are today. On the issue of old gist and new gist, I told the person, so there was a time, myself and one presenter, like I saw my brother today, he said we are presenting together. There was a time, about 20 years ago, I was presenting with one man. So when we come to gathering like this, you're also here. What are you saying? Nothing new now. We're just saying the front page of our lecture. It's the same old problem. It's the same old problem. And I've been telling people about this. My dad, my pseudo father, my second dad, who I stayed with right from the age of 9. He went to St. Andrew's College, Oyo. He wrote his final exam. 30 years after, I wrote my own WAEC. He was able to help me in a Greek. Got 6 problems of agriculture in Nigeria. Poor implement, poor storage facilities, poor transportation, lack of fertilizer, poor credit. That was what he read at Central College Oyo to pass his final exam. 30 years after, I crammed those 6 factors. I crammed those 6 factors to pass my own WAEC. 30 years after, my son came to school, from school, and I was reading his Greek note while he was preparing for a Greek. Kayode, my son, crammed those 6 factors. 60 years after my uncle crammed it to pass WAEC. Kayode's child is 8 years old. The problem is still there. I am praying that Kike Lomo will not cram those 6 factors. Do you now know what I'm saying? For a long time, the problems of this country have been identified. For a long time, the problems of this country have been identified. Solutions to them have been identified. But it needs willpower. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. Because the generation that were involved, they could not solve the problem. How much more the generation that are not involved? This generation that's following us, they are not interested. They are not interested. And there lies the danger for tomorrow. You want me to say next? It's going to be tough. Nothing to change it. I can't control it. Because there are so many slides. I have to, yes. Real estate remains. One thing I want to, until we get the sector right. And those of us that are seated here, there's something they saw in you, there's something they saw in me before we were invited. And I kept on telling gatherings like this, that solving Nigerian housing problem, Lagos State housing problem, is not going to be the medical doctors. Because when there was Ebola and COVID, were you called upon to solve it? Who solved it? The medical world. The medical world. Not the soldiers. When there was war, who fought for the independence of Nigeria? The soldiers. In the late 70s. They are the one that fought the Biafra war. To solve the housing problem, those of us that are seated here, we are the one. We are the one. And how we work with the government to solve, since government is critical, God will help us. Because until we get this sector straight, until we get it right, the nation is moving nowhere. We will continue in our poverty, and life will become worse. We are looking at the future of tomorrow. There's no future. Until this sector is gotten right, where is the future? Where is the future? We can't deceive ourselves. You are going to reap whatever you sow. We are not sowing anything. Real estate is the only estate that is real. Housing. The wealth of the world. Real estate accounts for 74% of the wealth of the world. All other things like oil and gas, ICT, AI, they were just 26%. Out of this 74% of the wealth of the world, the residential real estate housing accounts for 54. 54. The remaining 20 were industry, recreation, tourism. Real estate is 50%. So the wealth of this world, in any nation, divides between residential and capital. Lewis 2001. An American, through mortgage, have been able to connect the two, residential and the capital market. Before, housing used to be liquid, unmovable. Through the mortgage is described as the second invention of man that changed the whole world after the steam engine. In Europe, 18th century, the Europe established, they invented steam engine, which led to the invention of machines that we are using today, cars to drive. They start with steam engine, railway, shipping railway. And that changed. That was what put an end to slave trade. Because machines substituted man on the field. Man was no longer needed. AI will soon substitute man in the office. And you see all these jackpot, they will ask them to come back to their country because they don't need you again. Those, after the invention of steam engine, those slaves that were on the sea, that the white people believe that they don't need again on their plantation, they couldn't bring them back to their country where they took them. They dropped some in Brazil, dropped them in Puerto Rico, Colombia, and all the rest. Liberia, Sierra Leone. That's why they dropped them. Yes, somebody fought for the end of slave trade. But white man that I know, if they still need you in their plantation, if they've not invented machine, they will not stop slave trade. So, after invention of steam engine that changed the whole world, the another thing that was invented that changed the world in America is mortgage. It's mortgage. No wonder 2007, 2008, when mortgage crashed in America, the whole world is in recession up to tomorrow. Because of the subprime lending that led to the bust of mortgage. To tell you the power of mortgage, the mortgage bust in America threw the entire world into recession up to today. And that mortgage is the measure of civilization. In America, home ownership, 72%. In Britain, 80%. In Netherlands, mortgage component of the GDP, 40%. In Nigeria, it's still less than 1%. It's less than 1%. So, until we pay attention onto housing, our economy will still be struggling. Yes, continue. Continue. Yes, Nigeria's real GDP. I mean, we want to thank God that for the first time last year, the housing sector, the real estate sector, overtook oil and gas in the GDP. So, we are realizing it. For one thing or the other, it's rising. Continue, please. Real estate. Immediately we invest in real estate. Job creation, infrastructure development, urbanization and modernization, revenue generation, foreign direct investment, tourism, affordable housing, wealth creation, small and medium enterprise. Look at the wealth that is put into the construction of this place. It's on record that on a 3-bedroom apartment, to build up 3-bedroom apartment, 118 people typically works on the site. Food vendors will be selling food. There's multiplier effect of it. And immediately after you finish the house, you begin to buy rug, begin to buy fridge, begin to buy television. The whole economy of the country is kickstarted. I call it Bobonshe. If you come from Ijebu, where I come from, you understand it. Go to the next slide quickly. The market size is this in Nigeria. Let's go. We just want to really pull. Yeah, 4.7 trillion. Nigerian pension fund, 31 trillion. 31 trillion. Insurance industry asset, 4.79 trillion. Because I just want to, because we just want to tell us that there's no way I can present it sequentially that we can get. But I'm a priest too. Whatever I say, Holy Spirit will put it together in your heart. Look at this 31.4 trillion. That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. What are we looking for? What's the amount in our budget for housing this year? The entire nation. The pension fund of Nigeria has 31.48 trillion. That's huge. And in the law of the pension fund, 40% is allowed to go into real estate. To flow into real estate. Because we are talking about capital. To flow into real estate. Just do the calculation for me. 40% of 31 trillion. What is it? That's about 13 trillion. Thank you. 13 trillion. What's the national budget this year? Of the whole country? How much was the health sector? We were told about 300 million, 300 trillion. Only 30 million was released last year. But what are we saying? We have this huge pot in pension fund. And the law allowed 40% to flow. But the only way you can consume this 13 trillion is through REITs and MBS, mortgage-backed security. The two products were not available. So this 30 trillion on paper, 30 trillion is available for housing on paper that you can spend on housing. But you can't access, you can't get it directly to go and develop estate. Say, I'm an estate developer. You go to pension fund. Say, I want to give me 1 billion to develop 1,000 units. They will give you. You can only consume this 13 trillion through it. So the money is there, but you cannot access it. So it's government that is eventually using all the money. What is meant to be developed for development is now being borrowed by government to pay salary. To do current expenditure. What is meant for capital expenditure? How will the country grow? Because REIT is not available. REIT is not available. Why is REIT not available? Our developers are not developing for renter. Our developers are not developing for renter. They were developing for sale. REIT is renter. 70% of what you use REIT for must be for renter, bringing cash flow every month that you'll be settling the pensioners with. But our developers, they are developing cash and carry. Buy and sell. Build and sell. So they can't access REIT. And none of the developers were interested in renter. This is where government comes in. That's where government comes in. Before 1986, government was regulating the economy. At the beginning of the year, they will tell you, bank, borrow, agree this percentage. But World Bank came under the neoliberalism economic system. World Bank and IMF told us, open up your capital, open up your market, open your market. Government must not regulate market. So government was not telling us how to spend our REIT. Protect your REIT. Let people compete for it. Let people compete for industry. No subsidy. And up to tomorrow, there is still social housing in the UK. Up to tomorrow, there are still budget projects. As of yesterday, the Prime Minister approve money to build houses for those who are sleeping on the street. But they told our bank, they told our CBN, regulate the economy. Don't open it up. Don't subsidize education. Don't subsidize housing. Don't subsidize health sector. If you can't afford it, die on the street. So whatever we put together that will have benefited us, we are not benefiting. We don't need to borrow any money from any country. If we are able to unlock this 13 trillion that is locked up, that is only federal government that is borrowing about 80% of it. Go to the next slide. Any nation should provide housing for its people, but we don't have that. What you are seeing is not hidden. This is University of Lagos high-rise staff quarters. So what you see around us, all these slides, they are around the University of Lagos. Continue. 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 Somebody asks a question. Somebody asks quickly. When it's 10 minutes, tell me. When it's 10 minutes, just raise your hand, please. Because my class in the university is 3 hours. So this 30 minutes, welcome student to class. So no, go to the last slide, last one. Yes. When in a gathering, pictures of cities were presented, new projects around the country were presented. New cities, intensifying congress, what many of us were building. Eco Atlantic, this is Banana Island, Vija Island, Haitis Island. Intensifying congress between exact pricing. Today, in most cities, like in Lagos, we have the low density, the well planned, and the slum. And after a woman who attended the program, where these new plans, new projects that we go to London. One thing I want to say is that today, most of the projects that you see in Lagos, in Lekki, most places today, they were being, immediately you package it, they go to London to do roadshow. I've done it severally. We go to America to do roadshow. We invite the medical doctors in London because they are handling well. We sell houses for them. Most developers in Nigeria today, they are not building for Nigeria, they are building for those who are, what do they call them? Diaspora. Diaspora. And we are building for the 1% of the 1%. They will ask this question. The plan is beautiful. The new city is good. But who are they for? Where are the normal people going to sleep tonight? You and I are the normal people. But where are we going to sleep tonight? Continue. Continue. There's time will fail me to take us through the value chain. Go to the last slide. The land finance, the real estate value chain, land, construction finance, mortgage finance, capital market. This land acquisition, the beginning of real estate development, land acquisition, title, infrastructure development, construction of the houses, primary capital market, the money market, the mortgage market, then the secondary market. If this chain is not complete, the housing sector is moving nowhere. It's moving nowhere. And look at the next slide. Next slide. Till today, we still have problem even with the first point in the land value chain. Land assembly is still a problem in Nigeria today. A friend got land at Agbara. Omonile started encroaching. And at the end of the day, he was going with soldiers, like I was doing in the essay that I promoted. He was going with soldiers. One day, he felt like laying 14 foundations at different corners of the land. So that if they take anyone there, they will see the foundation. It just spread the foundation, different corner, to secure the land. since fence will not do. He couldn't fence it. It was light land. So the next time he got to the site, he was formerly going with soldiers and police. He saw 14 coffins on the foundation. So he stopped going with soldiers, started going with MFM prayer warrior, and anointing oil. I acquired 180 plots, almost 3 minutes drive from Redemption Camp. I acquired 1992, 180 plots. So when we subdivided it, see today, we have just 45 plots left. Omonile took everything. And there was a time they even phoned me. They said, sir, don't come. They said 2 o'clock broad day. 16 people tied wrapper, white wrapper, and move around. In Yoruba, they say, want to roll a with bad need me, my lobel. My wife started begging me. My wife said, Igita feiti to gbani duro. To ba wuli ni ko le pan. He said, dear, before we acquire this land, we were living. Why should this land now kill us? For 4 years, we didn't step the land. The problem I faced then, the problem my friend faced then, the problem is still till tomorrow. New generation of real estate developer, we are still facing that. We are still facing it. And in the real estate development value chain, land is the first. And the issue of land, we have not resolved. How can somebody take $100 million to build landmark, and somebody will come with bulldozer and say, you destroy only shanty? Describe those sheds where tourists stay as shanty. Not when during construction, years after the facilities is under use. You are still contending CFO and where the boundary of the land got to on a project that was funded with international fund. Have they not seen the CFO? Did they not see the CFO before they approved international fund for that project? And somebody who said government took whatever belongs to government. So, if someone funded 100 million project and disappear just like that, who is that international funder that will come and fund another project in such city? So these are issues that we are facing. Those are issues that we are facing. Talking about title, everyone that is seated here, 2 books I recommended in this presentation. Go to the next. Then from title, we move to bulk infrastructure. Bulk infrastructure to housing construction. Sales through mortgage bank. Maintenance. These are issues. An average mortgage all over the world is 25 years. It's only in this country that I will see an essay being advertised. They say they advertise. They say with mortgage facility, mortgage opportunity, and they say 50% in January, 25% in July, and that's mortgage in Nigeria. Where by definition of mortgage all over the world is 25 to 30 years. But if somebody should obtain mortgage for 25 years, and after 10 years, the whole estate has run down, how will you pay the mortgage back? And that's what happened to Festac. It's one thing to release the fund for you. It's the ability to keep the value of the property for 25 years. If not, nobody. Maintenance, socio-economic infrastructure. Go. The rent, beyond rent, the announcement of Lagos, continue, just be scrolling now. The challenge is real. What we are saying here, me, I'm saying it. God has helped us. I'm saying it to provoke us to do something, to work with government. Because those who are in government, they are from us. More Nigerians now lack access to this set urban infrastructure, including affordable housing, because there have been significant underinvestment and policy failures. Continue. And the future is scary. The future is scary. I told you, I said, when it's 10 minutes, tell me, oh. Okay. The future is scary. The population of Nigeria today, how many? 220. That's what they told us. We are more. Yeah. But in 25 years' time, we will be 450. Lagos is 20. In 25 years' time, we'll be 40. We'll be 40 million. In 24 years' time, 2050. You can just imagine. Look, earlier this year, we rented 2-bedroom out at Akoka, Morofolu, on Third Road, 2-bedroom flat, 3.5 million. 3.5 million. No staff of the University of Lagos could afford it. No staff of the University of Lagos could afford it. K2, near Ajelogu, 3-bedroom flat, as of last week, 4 million. 4 million. One of our professors went on sabbatical, went to work for World Bank, and he came with some dollars. That's about 2 years ago. He came with some dollars. By the time they converted it, 120 million naira. He walked with me with confidence, with chest so wide. He said, I've lived in this university area for about 30 or 35 years. I'll be retiring in 2 years' time. I've been worshiping in the church. When I retire, this is the only place I'm used to. I don't want to leave university and leave the church community. He said, Prof, get me a 3-bedroom apartment around Yaba. I said, how much do you have? I was looking at him as one of us. He said, I have 120 million. I said, I'm a little there. We'll get a great house. We set out. We went to the construction that was going on at Yabatek GRA. We saw tiny 2-bedroom flat, 150 million. That was last year. I met him last week. I said, Prof, what did you have? He said, since we couldn't get there, I didn't make any further efforts. So he said he didn't make further efforts. And that 150 million last year is 210 now. It's 210 now. And the population is 20 million. No. You can now imagine when the population now becomes 40 million. When the population becomes 40 million, you can now imagine. So the future is scary. The problem is real. And the future is scary. Continue. And sadly, all over the country, including Lagos, in the last 2 years or 3 years, we have demolished 2 times the number of houses we built. That I can understand. A nation that is not building, then we are demolishing. Even the one we have, we are demolishing. Demolition is everywhere. Continue. It's in the news. And this project that were demolished were developed by the developers about 10 years ago. They have all their papers. Continue. Recurring slum demolition across Lagos. Every day, including Christmas Eve. Continue. Recurring slum demolition. They told us to leave. They didn't tell us where to go. The demolition destroying homes and lives in Lagos. Over 300,000 residents As long as you are doing demolition, what will be happening to the rent? It will be increasing. All this Mowe Ibafo Asese had no single value before Morocco was demolished. The second month after demolition of Morocco, Asese started collecting rent. Continue. Illegal land gambling. One of the problems we are facing. Continue. The Ministry of Capital tells us that in Africa, not less than 9.3 trillion global debt capital held in untitled assets. Once your property has no CFO, has no title that you can present, land title is the foundation of capitalism. Capitalism is built on land title. Continue. 15 to 20%. Friction costs added solely. Continue. These are problems. Why nation fail? 94% of Lagos property lack legal titles. Stakeholders lamented. We are living in a country where last year state government published 176 assets as illegal. No approval. You are aware? 176 estates. Let's say an average of 100 houses in each estate. And it is on record. Go to the next slide. Why nations fail? Back to last slide. Back to that slide. Yes, Why Nations Fail is another paper that is another book. The first book is Mystery of Capital by DeSoto. Then this one, I want to beg you. These are one of the best books ever written. Get them to buy. You see, Why Nations Fail look at a city, Soren, a city like Ekpe. Half of it fell in America, Arizona. The remaining half fell in Mexico. The one that fell in America, they were living in prosperity. Across the road that was in Mexico, they were living in abject poverty. And that's what this man investigated and saw the trend around the world that where there is no institution, people will be living in poverty. The wealth is everywhere. Resources is everywhere. But when there is no strong institution, political will, institution to mobilize the wealth, the people will be living in poverty. Today, Ekpe is between Ijebu, Ogun State, but when you say an average Ekpe people, you say I'm Lagosian. They don't claim they are from Ogun. Because they know that prosperity is in claiming to be Lagosian. But we all know that half of Ekpe, or even more than half, are in Ogun State. But today, an average Ekpe person will say, I'm a Lagosian. Because being a Lagosian gives you value. So, the same land mass, but different institutions. That tells us that we can't say we are not concerned about the performance of government. About the performance of our institution. Continue. They say I have 5 minutes left. Oh, I just saw the hand for the first time. Okay. Continue. Opportunity, 3.5 trillion. Total financing gap required. Continue. Just be scrolling. 3.5 million. Continue. Lagos, these are things I've said. You can look at it. Just keep on scrolling. I want to make this thing real. Yes, stop there. Go back. Stop there. Yes, let me say this. Then I go through the opportunities that are ahead, the future of Lagos. And for 6 years old, this is the problem I'm facing now. I want to make this in practical. A lecturer approached me last week. She's 46 years old. She's a lecturer 1. He said, I've spent 10 years in the service of the university. For 3 years, he was pursuing allocation of Lagos houses. She said she was going to secretariat almost every week, begging those people that were in charge to make sure to get allocation. Last month, she was given allocation. But instead of dancing, she was almost crying because she didn't expect the price. This is what she was asked to go and pay. 28 million. For a 2-bedroom house at Badagry. You know the French village. Where do they call the place? French village. They call it a name. It has a name. Listen, this man represents you and I. And it's been a sleepless night for us. How will she fund 28 million? Last year, when they introduced this MRIF, you know every government comes with different programs. Oshibaju and Buhari, they came with national family homes. Baba came with more MRIF. MRIF came to University of Lagos. This what they are promoting this mortgage, that they can give us mortgage at single digits. But by the time they look at the payroll, they said no one is qualified for the leased house if you are earning less than 500,000 per annum. So they could not do business with us. So they went back. When our salary improved a little, we called them about 3 months ago. Say, God has been kind to us. Come and see our payroll again. Maybe we can qualify now. They came. They said, okay, about 2% of you. This lady, she's lecturer 1. And her earning is less than 250,000. Now, University of Lagos, I'm giving this life example so that we can relate, so that we are not talking abstract, so that we can know where to put. I know my time is up. Please, just this 5 minutes. I beg. So that we know we can relate it to a human being. We are not just talking abstract. That's why I said, share the letter of allocation with me. Now, this is the letter of allocation. They gave her 90 days to pay. If she doesn't pay, she will lose this effort of 3 years. Now, she told me day before yesterday, that the family have been able to raise about 5 million. She had family and friends who did not want her to. It's not that show, it's still loan. Now, University of Lagos wanted to give staff housing loan, 10 million for housing, 5 million for land. Now, by the time we look at our scale, she will not be able to qualify for more than 5 million. So that's 5 million. And before University of Lagos approve that 5 million, they will go through your pay slip and make sure that you have not collected loan from cooperatives. Because many staff live on cooperative loan. So I now advise her. I said, don't go to the cooperative before university releases its own. So that by the time they ask the cooperative will say, you are not owing them. So after university have given you 5 million, you can now go to a cooperative for another 5 million. That's 15 million. Where is it 13 million? Where will she get the 30 million? And by the time the university begin to remove, because she has to pay the university back within 3 years. You understand what I'm saying? She has to pay the cooperative back within 3 years. She has to pay the family and friends within 3 years. So this woman, out of the 25,000 she's earning, she will not Still not any money. And she will be living in Badagry and need to transport himself to. Do you see the average that we are stuck? And there is no average to sell 3-bedroom for 2-bedroom for 28 million. It's still one of the best offer you can have. So when we say the situation is scary, this real situation that we are contending with now, the woman could not sleep. Renting is not alternative. Somebody rented 3-bedroom at Iwaya, 5 million. So renting is not option for her. That if you miss this one, you can go and rent. She couldn't afford. And this have a problem. This has problem. It's a serious problem. I look into the housing situation of secondary school workers about 20 years ago in Ikeja. And I found out that many of them could not live in the Ikeja area. They were living in your body, they were living in Korodu. And because of the traffic situation, they don't get to school until 10 o'clock. And 10 o'clock is when you teach our children. That's when they could receive. And 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock is wasted in secondary school in Lagos. Because the teachers could not live around campus. Especially affect the quality of the performance of our children. It's a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle that we have to resolve. Yes, the next slide. Just like album now, just go through. The hope we have let land. What do I want to say about the PPP? Time fails us to say, like Paul said. The oasis in desert. Despite all this gloomy picture, if we are able to, Lagos is not a dying city. Lagos State is a pocket of wealth. See these projects that are coming up. Just go through them. Scroll through them. Scroll through them. The American Embassy. Go back to American Embassy. American Embassy, this is the biggest embassy of America on the planet Earth. $750 million. America don't put their money in a place that has no future. The fact that there is future in this state, that's where you see this kind of investment. Go to Dangote, go to Calabar Road. This Dangote. The land size of Dangote is 10 times the size of Victoria Island. Dangote industry today is sitting on 10 times the size of Victoria Island. Continue. Calabar Road is there. Continue. Just be scrolling like album. The blue lane, the right lane, Ibejuleki, Endless Settlement, Lakawe, Isimi, Makurios. Various investment coming up massively all over the state. Continue. This Sataram school is one of the best schools. Office structure, stop there. Stop there as I round up. Stop there. Last slide, last slide, last slide. Yes. The future is in our hand. We are not in a hopeless situation. All we just need. I tell people that when you are inside the plane coming to Nigeria, 40% that inside the plane are white people. If there's nothing in this country, they will not be coming. So there's something. All we just need to do, the future is in our hand. Continue. If we can embark upon massive, continue, just keep on scrolling. If we can embark upon massive urban, go to, look at this slide. Look at this slide, look at this slide. Continue, go, yes. This Oluwole, this around us here. For those of us that were used, this Oluwole, an island of slum within this affluence. But somebody came and did urban regeneration. I said, Lewis, go to the next slide and clean it. Continue. A lot of stories. This is why the project we did for Lagos State government at Ijoraba there. This where we are working on this University of Lagos. If we can clean our slum, those are the low-hanging fruits. We'll release millions of houses for this country. The slum of Iwaya, past University of Lagos, if you can turn them, continue, keep on scrolling to apartment like this, we can really, there's a lot of things to be said, but we'll share this with us. If I can get to where I say thank you. Go to that one. Go to that one. We do not have housing crisis. We have a capital architecture problem. Design the system, and the city will build itself. Thank you.
A big round of applause for Professor. It is very evident that the professor is passionate about the topic. I'm sure if we leave him, we'll be here for the next 6, 8, 10 hours. But something is very clear. You know, issues has been called out and identified. It is very interesting to hear that even in a place like Ketsu, where rent is going for as much as 4 million. That's a very interesting fact. And with your 150 million, you'll go to Yaba and still struggle to get a 2-bedroom apartment. It's a very interesting situation. And that points to the fact that the discourse we're having today is a very timely and important conversation. And one thing Professor mentioned as he was wrapping up is that the future is in our hands, right? There is hope. It is not an hopeless situation. A big round of applause for Professor, please. All right. So, because of time, we'll be moving now to the panel session. We have very highly esteemed, of course, we are all very highly esteemed, but subject matters, people who have come to share their wealth of knowledge and understanding with us on this particular subject matter. And so we'll be moving to the panel session now. And I'll call up the panelists and so come, and then the conversation can start. I'll be starting with Dr. Bola Adigo. Is she in the building, please? Dr. Bola Adigo. She is the West Africa Economic Leader and Partner, Strategy and Transactions at Deloitte. She will be sharing a world of knowledge and understanding with us today. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much. Welcome. Next on the list is Mr. Tola Bawahala. Mr. Tolu Bawahala. Is it? Okay, welcome. Please, a round of applause for him, please. Welcome, sir. Welcome. He is the Managing Director of Printrex Properties. Please, a round of applause again. Thank you. The next that will be coming up, the next panelist is Engineer Toriola, who is the Permanent Secretary for Lagos State Ministry of Housing. Please, a round of applause for Engineer Toriola. Welcome, sir. Welcome. We're so happy to have you. Welcome, sir. A round of applause as it comes up, please. Please continue. Engineer Toriola. And the next panelist we have is our very own Managing Director for GTI Capital Limited, Mr. Kende Hassan. A round of applause, please. A round of applause for Mr. Kende, please. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Yes, and to moderate the panel session, would have okay, let's move this, please. Clemens, let's remove the podium. All right. All right. So, sorry for that house cleaning. We just had to do that. Please, a round of applause for everyone on the panel, please. As you can see, these are very important and esteemed people. And of course, I'm sure I could see a lot of us are already taking notes. We are going to really learn a lot from this session. Now, to moderate the session, we have Kule Oyekon to moderate the session. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. I would like to thank everybody for coming and this for the delay in starting. So I would like to go straight into the questions because we are pressed for time. I think I'll start with Tolu Bawala, MD of Prindex. From a developer's perspective, what is currently the biggest constraint to delivering housing at scale in Lagos? It could be land, infrastructure, construction, cost, demand.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody, again. Tolu Bawala is my name. I'm an architect by profession and also the managing director for Prindex Properties. Just as a means of a quick introduction, Prindex Properties is an indigenous real estate development company. We have, over the last few years, designed, built, sold, and are currently managing over 100 apartments within the Lagos metropolis. So on the mainland and also on the island side of town. So back to your question, sir. What are the biggest constraints? I think from where I stand, it has always been, finance. Of course, there are other factors to consider. The infrastructure expansion around the cities. The market is a given. The market is there. As Professor said, we're 20 million, people in Lagos. It might surprise us to know that 85% of Lagos residents are renting. Perhaps only just 15% are homeowners. So the market is a given. But in terms of the constraints, infrastructure is one thing. From us and how we've run our business in the last few years, finance has always been a big issue, right? We have experienced situations where what is available to us is short-term finance. But meanwhile, real estate development is long-term, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. But you would all agree with me, you are in the finance space. Even the investors that you manage money for, they tell you, please, after 12 months, January to December, by December, I want to do Christmas. It doesn't work like that for real estate. I would allow other people to share their comments.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Of course, we want our return as soon as possible.
Yes.
So I would go to Mr. Kende Hassan so we can look at it from an advisory perspective.
Thank you. And let me thank the Prof for that thought-provoking and insightful presentation. So, where was I? Starting from where he stopped, I think the issue of return is a challenge. If you look at the capital market, we say it's a market for long-term investment. But every investor, like he said, we always strive for short-term gains, even when they're investing in a long-term instrument. So that is why you see in the market today we have some instruments, that are housing focused, but they are not that liquid. And why? Because of when you look at the dividend yield at the end of the day, it's not usually as attractive as other quoted instruments in the market. So we have different REIT instruments today. We have the SFS, UPDC, Union Homes, and the likes. But if you look at the average volume that are traded today, it amounts to nothing. If you check the statistics, about 1.5 million units are traded on any trading day. Whereas if you look at other instruments, First Bank alone, just one person, can buy up 5 million units in a day. So this is what you see across this instrument. So illiquidity and unattractive yield and probably capital appreciation. And the third one is even the level of awareness of these products in the market. They are not as popular as the likes of MTN, First Bank, and other popular listed companies in the market. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, sir. So I think we'll go to Dr. Bola Adigun. My question is, what should the private sector and government be doing differently if Lagos wants to attract substantially more domestic and foreign capital into housing?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Again, I want to say thank you to GTI Group for the opportunity and the platform. It's always a pleasure to share perspective and views on issues. I think my fellow panelists have identified some of the problems, right? Maybe I can just reiterate. So, Prof mentioned something that is very critical. The low buying power, purchasing power, is a critical factor, right? So meaning that developers like my fellow panelists here are struggling to come in at the right price point. So there are some critical considerations, right? There is low financial capacity, especially for a state like Lagos, where you have a very informal economy. So they don't have the right credit history, the right saving capacity, or the right level of income to be able to qualify for mortgage, even when those mortgages are available, right? Another thing is, and Prof had mentioned it as well, there is a significant demand-supply mismatch, right? A significant amount of property development in the pipeline currently today are above the 200 million price range. And the reality is that limited Nigerians are able to afford at that price point. Now, you can't even blame the developers as well, because the cost of housing or the cost of construction has gone up from inflation, from imported inflation. Sometimes, unlike in other countries or in other climates, where you have a housing project, in Nigeria, you also provide amenities for that housing project, right? You provide the land, the road sometimes, especially in not the city centers, right? You provide drainages. All of that goes into the cost of the cost of the housing. Right? What should we do differently? So I don't want to take too much time, right? But what should we do differently? I think there is need for a proper private-public sector handshake. Now, it's not so much government should be the one building those low-cost housing. It is government providing the enabling environment which then crowds in the investment. So, for example, you can identify areas that are not in the city centers, but are in growth corridors, high traffic corridors. Provide an enabling environment, provide infrastructure. Naturally, like Prof mentioned in his speech, housing would gravitate towards that place. Let me stop at this point.
All right, thank you so much for that as well. All right, so we're going to go straight to the government. So my question to Engineer Toriola, what role should government play in financing housing? And where should governments instead focus on enabling private capital?
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to appreciate GTI Microfinance Bank for coming on with this program. Actually, I'll be here to come and take note, but I'll share government responsibility with us, because we all know that housing is a basic thing of life, and government cannot do it alone. I think she has given me a soft landing, what government should do. Government is meant to provide enabling environment. Government cannot finance all the housing needs of Lagos. When you consider the size of Lagos, which is about 0.4% of the land mass of the country, it's about 3,577 square kilometers, but the population is there. That means there is need. There's opportunity for investors to come into the housing sector. So I think what government has been doing when you look at financing is to act as a guarantor to de-risk for the investors, de-risk the investor. And that's why government have been coming up with a lot of programs. And apart from that, government also set up an agency to look into ensuring that developers, estate agents don't even default the subscribers. That we have LASERA. I don't know whether some of us have heard of LASERA. LASERA means a Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority, which is meant to mediate and ensure that investors get their returns and also subscribers are not defrauded. So what government has been doing, she mentioned about PPP, public-private partnership. The government has been doing that a lot. But what we have seen, that there's a lot of challenges. You know, the first question you gave to my brother, you talk about the challenges, time of land, construction, financing. Like I told you, government cannot finance all the, but government can act as a middleman. And what we have been doing to ensure that we have investors, government ensure that when we have any developers that needs government backing, we will act once we see certain parameters. We back them. At times, we give them land to also construct, and we get the necessary approval. There's also approval. You must get your layout approval. You must get your building planning approvals. And government will act and ensure that they also get 40% rebate. You know, what you are trying to do is to reduce the cost of construction by giving that necessary rebate for them to construct. And government is also there. You see, a lot of things happen in the real estate sector. Fraud. That's why LASERA was established to protect subscribers, even developers. Even when you come to rent, you see it about beyond rent. Rent is another issue. You have people who ask for 3 years, 2 years before they can give you a house. And the cost of rent is going up every day. So what is government doing? That's why we have a tenancy law. We are trying to review our tenancy law. People believe that we have actually empowered tenants against the investor, who is the landlord.
Absolutely.
You may not know. So we are trying to review our law to balance those things. I think I should stop from now. But government is doing a lot to regulate. Government aspect is to regulate and ensure that we have enabling environment for investors to come in. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, sir. So my next question will go to Mr. Tolu. What type of financing will make the greatest difference to developers? Being maybe cheaper debt, longer tenor funding, more equity, or some sort of guarantees?
Okay, in my first remarks, I clearly mentioned that I think one of the biggest challenges we have as developers is that there's always a mismatch between the funds that is available for my brother that is sitting to my left and to people like me. So he would come to me to say, I have 5 billion for you, but I'm sorry, I can't give it to you for more than 12 to 18 months. And I want 40% returns. And then I check myself and I'm asking, the whole development I'm doing, is it even going to fetch me 40% profit returns? You understand? So it's always an issue, trying to find patient funds that can match our development's life cycle. If we look very carefully, Prof mentioned that we have about 31 trillion in pension funds. 40% of it comes, is meant to be for real estate, which is about 13 trillion. And he also mentioned how, that can come into the system through REITs or through mortgage. We can't access it directly. So as he concluded, I think the issue is the capital architecture. Right? If we can sit down, consultants like the lady on my right, who is my panelist, developers, even the government, and try to work on a policy that can enable us to access, funds that are not too expensive. Because what a lot of developers do these days is they just sell off plan. They don't want to go to somebody to say, okay, I'm indebted to you to the tune of 2 billion. And I have to give you 30% returns within 12 months. Lagos State will tell me approval is not going to be out until 3 months' time. So that's 3 months into my cycle. There are different challenges. Prices have gone up. They will tell you, oh, the war in Iran is affecting all prices. No, I'm being serious, because how would that affect us? We build on site, meaning all the materials we're going to use will be hauled to site. That is going to cost diesel, it's going to cost money, the haulage, the transportation. So you're buying a trailer of cement at this price, and then before you blink, it has become this price because of transportation costs. I mean, there are layers and layers and layers of risks. But I think essentially the problem will be solved when we start finding solutions to bring to developers, long-term funding. I thought very deeply about the questions you asked, you sent to me, and from a practical point of view, because we're all pointing to government. Government will be there, they'll keep doing their own thing. We are all individuals. We are growing old by the day. How can we solve our problems? I remember when I was a young kid, I think I was about 4 years old then. I was in the car with my uncle, and he made a statement. He said, 55 naira per bag of cement. Ibulaye in law. That was how furious he was. Now we're buying a bag of cement for over 10,000, 12,000. It means government will still be there, as Prof said. Political willpower. All those things will continue on their own. But as individuals, what do we do? When you don't have lights in your house, you put solar. When you don't have water, you dig a borehole. Private sector, collectively, what can we do? I thought about a practical solution. So, if we look very closely, for every 10 people looking to buy land, for every 1 person looking to buy a house, there's 10 people looking to buy land. That's the statistics. And it's because some people want to buy to hold as a store of value. Some people want to do development. There are different reasons, right? From research that I have done, in my own space with my team, I realized that sometimes when we go into a transaction, like we did something in Yabatech GRA for Shell Cooperative a few years back, and I realized that we bought a parcel of land for about 200 million, 2,800 square meters. We ran a transaction, we built about 35 units for the cooperative, and they downsold to their staff. At the end of that transaction, if we had split that land into 2 and developed only half of the land, right? And we sold the other half of the land at the time we completed the development, we'll have still made the same profit. Do you get what I'm saying? Meaning that, yes, on the development side, we developers face the risk of inflation. But one thing that can beat that risk of inflation on the construction and development side is the land value, the appreciation of the land value. So if I'm to sit with Mr. Kehinde now to say, let's design a real estate fund that can in itself have enough cushion to mitigate any risk that will come up, I'll say, okay, let's buy 10,000 square meters of land, even though we don't need to develop 10,000 square meters. Then we develop only 5,000. And the remaining 5,000 we will look to sell upon completion. So that if we have any issues while we are building, right, and we don't meet that target, say he wants to get 35% returns from me, I'm looking at a 50% profit margin on the whole development. Maybe I fall short. I'm at maybe 33%. So I can only give him maybe 28. The profit we're making from the sale of the land would cushion whatever we're doing. Another option would be for asset managers to come together to try to develop a real estate fund whereby a substantial amount of that money is going into funding material purchases for developers. Because we've looked into our processes and we realize that if we can front load materials purchase at the beginning of every project, we will not have cost to increase price. If we increase price, so I start a project now and I'm selling at 100 million for a 2-bed. And by the time I'm done in 18 months, I'm now selling at 180 million. The resultant effect is that the person coming to rent has to pay between 4 to 7% of 180 million as rent. As he was saying, that's in Iwaya, you're renting at 3.5 million naira for a 2-bed. You get what I'm saying? So I totally agree with what you said. That is a capital architecture issue. That if asset managers can come to say, okay, look, developer, I'm not giving you 5 billion. Send me your bill of quantities. How many bags of cement are you buying? How many reinforcement? I'll talk to my people in Lafarge who front load for Lafarge. Lafarge will supply to you as you need. You're taking that risk off the developer's head. He doesn't have to bother that, oh, cement price will go up and he'll start to sweat. You understand? Those are two things I thought about that are practical solutions while we wait for the government to have a sit-down round table that can take either 1 month, 1 year, or 10 years. We know how it works, or 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. You can see he came prepared with options. So I would like to go to Mr. Hassan. Following from his ideology of de-risking it, how would you say risks should be allocated between government, developers, lenders, and investors to make housing transactions commercially viable?
Interesting. I think he has done a bit of work on de-risking the housing challenges, not only in Lagos, across the country. The first thing is how to manage the regulatory environment. Today, transfer of a title is a bigger problem, and that is where we need a government, to help. Engineer Tora spoke about the need to review the tenancy law. I think there are other laws that appears to be archaic, the Land Use Act and all of that. So we need to review. But most importantly is the enforcement. The challenges around the Omonile or where there are disputes. How do you resolve this dispute? Dispute should not stay long for as much as 5, 7, 10 years to resolve. So that's very important. For the lenders, the borrowers, of course, it's a business relationship. So one needs to look at how to de-risk the entire framework such that both parties will be comfortable and they'll be willing to do business with each other. But the other important part, which my company emphasize, is with the capital market operators, because as an operator, I think the future is in our hands. Every problem comes with its opportunities, and that is where we have to come in. We should be able to study the environment, look at all the issues, and as an investment banker, provide solutions to all these challenges, solutions that will give comfort to everyone in the ecosystem to be able to do business of providing housing for people. So, like he said, we need to come up with a framework, structure their products that will give comfort, that will give transparency, and that will give accessibility to everyone to participate. So that when you put your money, you know that your money is secured. So there are different ways to do that. One of it is to also look at how to reawaken the dead landed property. They are there, maybe because of inheritance policy within some family structures. You cannot touch the land. Some lands are there; they are referred to as ancestral land or homes, and they need to be developed to provide housing for people. So that's where we come in as an operator. So we look at all of this, the risk, the process, structure products that will give comfort, convenience, transparency, and confidence to fund providers. I think that's how it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Very, very concise. Thank you so much, sir. So my next question goes to Engineer Toriola. Looking ahead, following what has been said, what would you like to see from banks, developers, institutional investors, and capital market participants in supporting Lagos housing objectives?
Thank you very much. And that question goes along with his comment and his own comments too. Because I said something when I was trying to answer my first question. I said government has established an agency called LASERA, Lagos State Real Estate Regulative Authority, to mediate. Before you can operate in Lagos State, you have to register as a developer. I don't know whether you are all aware. And when you have any challenges, what you need to do is to come to that agency. Maybe the land issue, maybe the permit issue, because you must also get permit before you can start your construction. So the issue of LAPCA, LASPERA will not be there. So government can mediate for you. We also talk about the land issue, title. So that agency, because the agency is under Ministry of Housing, will mediate for you. Whatever you need to get or you need to do, we tell you. So that this can give you an avenue to solve some of the challenges you face. Absolutely. So these are key things. But once you don't get this from me, I'm here to take note. I've taken note of what he has said. Like I told you, I'm here to take note and go back and see areas of improvement. From what you have said now, I'm going to talk to my other PAMSECs, the land issue, permit issue, which is the fiscal planning and urban development. But I just want them to know that they have an avenue where they can seek for redress when it comes to housing issue. Because government is there. Government is meant to regulate. Talk about, we should look at the Land Use Act of 1978, that it needs to be reviewed. We will look into that. Government is already looking into that. But one of the critical things is about the developer coming up and do the right thing too at the same time. You need to have your permit before you start your development so that you don't have challenges of this LAPCA coming to seal your property. It's another challenge, which can affect you when it comes to inflation. Because the cost of material is dynamic. I'm just using my engineering time. Because he says about 55 naira. Now it's about 12,000 per cement. Any delay in construction can increase the cost of purchase at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So my final question will go to Dr. Bola Adi. What should the private sector and government be doing differently if Lagos wants to attract substantially more? Sorry, I think I've asked you this question.
No, I'll answer it another way.
Okay.
So I think, thank you, moderator. I think a lot of the responses are in line. No singular section of stakeholder group can solve this problem. We all have to come together to solve it. One, what are the critical stakeholders? You're talking about the developers, the government, financiers, even we consultants, right? Because sometimes the difference may be in the structuring. So I would always say that capital is available. The problem is, how is risk measured? How is it managed? And how is risk compensated for? Let me say it again. Risk has to be clear. It has to be manageable. It has to be measurable and then compensated for. Meaning that if you want to do a project today, right? So if you want to see a different outcome, then there's need for collaboration between the developer, meaning that we on the financing side, it's better to understand the requirements of the developer better, right? Even the potential acquirers. So you're looking at the demand side and the supply side. There's a significant imbalance currently, right, between the demand and supply. And the supply that is even coming in is not addressing the bottom of the pyramid where the majority of the demand is. Does that make sense? Meaning that there's need for a collaboration between all the different stakeholders, right? Government, like I had mentioned, has to provide the enabling environment. I was just before coming, I was reading an article, and the article says, provide infrastructure, housing would follow. We don't expect government to be the one building 1 million homes. No, but provide the necessary infrastructure, provide the clear framework, transparent policy, quick access to land titling. Provide all of that and let the private sector then come in to provide to solve the problem. Another thing is earning capacity of residents, right? Because no matter how you do it, if the earning capacity does not go up, they will not target the 15 million portion of the market. So another way government can come in is providing capacity for people to increase their earning income, their earning capacity, trainings, technical empowerment. That way, the person that is struggling with a 500,000 salary is able to come up. And that way, people like my brother here can develop housing product for that segment of the market. So summary is all stakeholders need to work together. It's not a government problem. It's not a private sector problem. It's not a financial problem. Unless we take a collaborative approach, 10 years time, hopefully not 60 years time like Prof mentioned in his speech, we'll still be saying the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
Okay, I just wanted to make a remark on something that is a bit subtle. On our own side of town, where we corporates sit down and discuss, we never really think about it and think of how it will be solved. And it's the issue of Omonile. I mean, Prof gave his own personal experience, right, about how he was constantly harassed by Omonile people on his property. So I would give you my own personal experience, and this is what I have done over the years to be able to manage the Omonile situation. So first off, Omonile is a social issue, and you must bring a social solution to solve a social problem. While I was in School of Architecture in Unilag, I had an uncle who advised me, said to look, try to buy one parcel of land every year. Try to buy one parcel of land every year. I think this one, I was in my year 5, architecture. And I thought, uncle, I don't have money. He said, no, you have money. That's go to where you will find land that is cheap enough. So I went far into Ijebu, far. He took me to one of his friends and I bought something. And I have kept that culture. Every year I buy one parcel of land. It may not be in Eco Atlantic because I don't have Eco Atlantic money yet, right? But I just make sure that I save towards it. Now, what have I done over the years? Wherever I buy land, I make sure that the day I'm paying, I go to the Bale. I go and do Bale. And I give the Bale a goat. I'm serious. I'm asking you, I'm telling you, social problems need social solutions. It might not be bringing police or bringing Mopo or bringing soldier that will solve the problem. But what I do is every year when I buy land, I go, I dobale, I humble myself. I take a goat. Receipt walele. This is our receipt. We just bought land here. And I think in my portfolio, I have about 20-something plots now in different areas. Now, I took it one step further after a while. During Christmas, I send a bag of rice. During Salah, I send a small ram. And everybody started paying attention. So much so that when they started encroaching, because you have built some kind of relationship with them. Yeah, goodwill. So I have invested money in goodwill. Now you can flip it and say, why are you wasting money buying blah, blah? I'm like, I'm not wasting money. My brother is here. The Lagos State government will send you land use charge if you had your land in Lekki Phase 1. So you will still always pay something, either in form of land use charge, in front of ground rent. You will still always pay something. And when I started looking at how much I had spent over the years, it's a very tiny fraction of how much I've made in terms of appreciation of those parcels. Because sometimes these Omonile guys, they also need money. They'll tell you, my daughter wants to get married, blah, blah, blah. Can you sell your land? Can we help you sell your land so that they make a commission and use that to fund their social life? It has happened once or twice. So I don't know who would find this information useful, but the bottom line takeaway is if it's a social problem, you must look for a social solution. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much. Like I said, I came to come and take notes from here. But I want to give my final remarks concerning what you are doing here. I've thanked the GTI for organizing this. But I just want to inform us that one thing we have observed, most of us don't do land searching before we buy land. You just see land, you just pay without doing necessary investigation about it. When you do the excavation, you can go to lands, hacks. They will give information about that land status. From there, you know whether to buy or not to buy. And when you buy, there are some steps you must also take. You have to do your documentation. Your survey, try to do all necessary documentation. Because these are challenges that we have seen. Like I told you, some come to Lacera. They have issue. We try to solve for them. Like I told you, we are meant to mitigate amenity. It's concerning lands and any government agencies. These are some of the things we have observed. You just buy, and there is always a caveat when you buy land. If you leave it for more than 10 years, you don't do anything on it, they can take it back. These are important information. You must do something on it. He has been paying for, he has been using RAM and Christmas hamper to sustain his land. Good. That is an initiative. I'm not disputing that because he came up with this with the initiative to protect that land. That is why he's doing that. But certain thing we need to do that is official. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. So can we all give them a round of applause? I'm going to pass it over now.
All right, a round of applause for the amazing panelists. No, not yet, please. Amazing. So, Kehinde, please come and get the chairs. So we would love to invite the Group Managing Director of GTI Investment Group to come and join us. Don't give him the back. Then Abiodun, you too, please. Professor, sir, please join us. Bring all the reports. Yeah, report empty. Okay, so also I'd love to invite Professor Shiyombola. Please join us up here, sir. Please, a round of applause for him too. Okay, while we wait for the GMD, we would also invite the Group Executive Officer, the GEO, in person of Mr. Olusegun Olawi. Please come up. Then we'd also like to call up the Finance Director of GTI Investment Group, in person of Mr. Boye Adegbemi. Please join us up here, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, we've called him. He's on his way.
Oh.
So we're waiting for the GMD. Is it coming? You can begin, but while we wait for him, how many of us have learned impactful knowledge from this session? Very impactful, very impactful. Please, a round of applause for them again, please. Yes. A round of applause for the visionary of the house, the group managing director, Mr. Abubakar Lawal. Please, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes, we'll go that now. We'll go to that now. Is that good? All right. Thank you so much. A round of applause for them, please. Thank you. Without wasting much time, I'll be inviting. Huh? Okay, so please confirm for me. What? Okay, just very briefly, in 5 to 10 minutes, we're having Professor Timothy come up. If you have questions.
Okay, please, it's a comment. I thank you so much. Let's clap again for the. And I want to really appreciate the presence of the permanent secretary before he leaves. Like he said, there were so many things that Lagos State government is doing that even the consumer, they don't know. How many of us know today, because I heard about delay in planning process. How many of us know today that in Lagos State, there is e-approval platform that you submit your plan, everything on without going to any office? We don't know. I know, like, questions that were asked. How many of us know that your CFO, your everything could be done on e-platform? We don't know. I also did not know. Permanent secretary, sir. Emma described permanent secretary. Because if we want to, we have to praise them for where they are doing well. They are doing well. On the approval platform alone, this government have invested nothing less than 8 billion to make the approval seamless. You see, what I'm saying is for us. And how many of us know that at the last Thursday of every month, there is a clinic in the land registry that you can go to the land registry. They attend to people, like what he said Lacera does. They attend to people. If you have any problem with land, how many of us know in land registry today, if you want to buy land, the land registry, they have the names of Omonile, different landholding families in Lagos. If you want to buy land from anywhere in Lagos, you get there. They will bring out the name of people that should sign your transaction. They've already have their name and fingerprint. So that you buy correctly. You won't have problem with you. So, sir, there are these noble products and innovation from the state. But the consumer here, they said they don't know. Which means that we have to do more in awareness. So that's all why. So there are so many things Lagos State government have done to ease transaction in land, in approval, but those who are affected, they don't know. So we can't keep on spending money to build infrastructure that the end users are not aware. So the Lacera does not need to wait for them to come. Let them be organization of awareness workshop like this from place to place. I want to pray that, and I don't belong to the school of thought. Like that was the way I started from my presentation. That I don't belong to the school of thought that say we don't need government. Another thing I want you to, that's why I beg you to say, sir. The PPP with the private sector, the Ministry of Housing, and other sectors of Lagos say they have PPP desk. Housing has land that you can do PPP with. So instead of you going to Omonile, if you go to housing today, they will give you land. But I just finished supervising PhD in PPP, on PPP. And one of our findings was very critical. If you have signed, Lagos State today, they've entered into PPP with several real estate developers to produce about 50,000 housing units. But in the last 5 years, found out that they produced less than 1,000. Many, and Lagos State government housing kept on lamenting. Those we enter PPP with, they are not delivering. They were not delivering. That was what addressed the research. What our research finding was bringing out was that the PPP is not equal partnership. Government is taking very little risk. Government only give land. And many of our developers that got those land, especially in Etiosa, they found out they were swampy. They need billion to sanfi before they start constructing. So if Lagos State government or any other government in Nigeria want to do PPP, let the land be usable form. Let infrastructure, like our sister said, so that when we say we are going to PPP, we can say that Lagos State government, we can capture our own value of the partnership that we are bringing 30%. You private sector, go and bring 70%. And when the return comes, we share it in that order. But what Lagos State is giving in form of that land that are not usable from our own research is less than 5%. So the people, they don't have the muscle to improve the land, put infrastructure before they go ahead to build. And there's a frustration on your own part that these people, they just get land from us. They didn't develop it. We have entered so many things that by now, if we look at PPP alone, should have delivered thousands of units, but they are not delivering. They just kept our land. They didn't just keep the land. They could not develop the land. So let government help in that aspect. From PPP alone, thousands of units will be coming to Lagos. And Lagos, from what we had here today, Lagos State government should, any government in Nigeria should stop competing with developers. Government should not be building to sell. Government should create enabling environment. When government build, let it be like Jakonde for renter to civil servant. If government should focus renter for civil servant and the developers are building home ownership, there will be more houses that will come. There is no way developer can compete in the market with somebody who has access to land. And you will now build. So government will sell cheaper and they will not be able to sell their own product. We have so many problems. There is a lot of architectural issues that we have to deal with. All the houses, like we said, they are for diaspora. By the time that market is dried up, we will now wear the thinking cap that we have to really solve the problem. The problem of developers that are solving now is not for Nigerians. They are solving problem for Nigerians that are living overseas. That's why you see all those houses in Lekki locked. They are only used during Christmas. And that's not the solution that we are looking for. Thank you so much, sir, for coming. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. It's always insightful. Okay, please come. But just 2 minutes, sir. Questions?
First of all, I want to thank the prof for the feedback. You know, I told you I'm here to come and take note. That is a feedback which we go back. I just want to say something that is why we normally engage you. There is this town and gown relationship we try to develop with the university community to get information from them. I'm just telling you that government is only building to be able to control the price. We have low income earners, we have medium and high. Somebody was telling me that he doesn't agree with you that we build cheaper. We build cheaper. Whatever the cost, we reduce the amount. We're just trying to, see a way to intervene in the cost of the construction and the cost of price. From what you have said today, I'll go back. I'll discuss with my management team. But to also say that enlightenment is a continuous thing. Most people we have done a lot in enlightenment, but somebody told me that whatever enlightenment you have not done anything. No. Some people tell you have never had of Lacera before. A lot of people tell you I've never heard of Lacera. That's what the man was saying. But it's a continuous, we will continue. But I've taken your feedback and I want to thank you. But we will continue to engage you. That's why government should, even in the industry, should be engaging people in the academic for them to exchange ideas and see how they can improve things. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we'll be moving now to the next item on our agenda, which is the presentation of the Beyond Rent report. And that will be done by our head of research in person of Abiodun Oguniyi. A round of applause for him, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, my name is Abiodun Oguniyi. I'm the head of research and strategy for GT Investment Group. I'm sure that we've had a very good time here. We've learned a lot about the Lagos housing market and the real estate industry. It's a very interesting one. Okay, so we've also presented our report, which we titled Beyond Rent, Mapping Lagos Housing-Led Capital Expansion. Yeah, so this is the title of the report. It took us month of actually being on the field, collecting data, talking to investors, operators, and renters. So, and we were able to actually acquire a lot of interesting insights, which we are going to be sharing with you now. Okay, so what is happening, why it matters, and what to do. So the 2026 GTI Research Beyond Rent report, it's what I'm holding. It has 10 chapters, and it's from the angle of renters, investors, and from a capital market perspective. So what is happening? According to data, between 2024 and 2026, rent actually went up by 80 to 120% in Lagos, while wage was more or less stagnant. And we also saw an emerging trend in the Lagos real estate market, which is infrastructure, not income. It's not the primary price mechanism across the 15 zones that we mapped. So interestingly, Lagos actually has the most expensive real estate market in the world at a property price to income of 19.2, in Africa rather, apologies, in Africa, 19.2x, which is property price to income ratio, 19.2x. So in Lagos, 70% of households are renters. 70% of households in Lagos are renters. And we estimated the capital gap needed for to close the Lagos housing deficit at about 6 trillion. So, and because of this housing deficit, it is estimated that Lagos actually has an annual housing deficit of 200,000 units. 15,000 to 20,000 units are delivered by former supply, which is very, very small compared to the deficit. And so because of this supply gap, so we've seen like about 10 routes emerging, which actually allow people to, participate in the real estate market without necessarily having to own a plot of land. And we believe that some of those routes are actually capital market opportunities, which we believe that we can take advantage of. So those are the 10 chapters of Beyond Rent. So when you look at, as Prof was speaking, he talked about the dire condition of rent in Lagos currently. I think all of us are feeling it, or most of us are feeling it. So, so when you look at, we look at some of those corridors. We saw the average rent. We look at about 3,200 listings, rental listings across property tech platforms, and it was so we're able to actually arrive at this average annual rent. There's a range, and then we also have the average or the median rent for each of those corridors. And Lagos is a very interesting state, really, because Lagos is actually like Nigeria's smallest state. It accounts for just 0.5% of national landmass. And despite that small size, it accounts for 10% of national population, and it contributes 20 to 30% of total national GDP. So you could see that disproportionate weight on Lagos. And, you know, Prof actually mentioned this in his presentation too. Mortgage penetration in the country is still quite poor at 2% and 2% to GDP. And when you look at like less than 1% of households are making use of mortgage for home ownership. And like I mentioned, Lagos has the highest property price to income ratio in the whole of Africa at 19.2. So compared to median domestic or domestic income, it is more expensive to get a property in Lagos than in Cairo or Nairobi or Cape Town or Durban in South Africa. So the situation is actually very, very dire. So the panelists and our keynote speaker, you know, they talk about the Land Use Act, some of the challenges there. And again, a lot of times, expensive land feeds into expensive housing. So land is identified as one of those major cost drivers for expensive housing in the country, particularly in Lagos. And then we also identify some of those. So as they were talking, there is the need for us to also reduce some of those bureaucratic bottlenecks. So it's one of those major factors that would reduce the cost of housing. So private infrastructure was also identified as one of those cost mechanisms, because as we all know, a lot of us actually have to provide our own infrastructure, you know, which makes housing expensive. So a lot of those infrastructure that ordinarily the government is supposed to provide them, and like Prof said, you cannot say that we can do without the government. We cannot. They need to also fulfill their own role. So one of the interesting topics that we also looked at in the report, we looked at, people always say, I think in Nigeria, we like talking about cement a lot. Whenever we are talking about housing, the first one that we're always talking about is cement. But unfortunately, we actually looked at the data and we saw that even getting cement very, very cheap is not going to close the housing deficit. It's not going to. So people always love, you know, identifying one particular villain and putting all the blame on it. So our model actually shows that if we're even able to get cement 82% cheaper, you can only have maybe like 40 or 50% reduction in the price of a house. So even though, yes, cheaper cement is going to help us, it's not going to solve our housing problem. So we're able to actually debunk that myth in the report. So what are those binding constraints that we identify for home ownership in Nigeria? And I think the panelists have actually done justice to some of them. The first is low income. A lot of Nigerians just earn too low for us to be able to afford home ownership. And then the next is mortgage access. Like I mentioned, currently, our mortgage to GDP ratio is about 2%, and only less than 1%, actually, is 0.6% of households make use of mortgage in the country. So high interest rates, infrastructure deficits, and land administration are also some of those factors that are the binding constraints for home ownership in the country. And then, of course, we also have high construction costs, which feed into that. So, and one of the policy recommendations we made is a negotiated cement price concession for affordable housing, so that we can expand, you know, the home ownership percentage in the country. So, next slide, please. So there's something we call the landlord inflation gap. It's a very interesting phenomenon. So over the last 4 years, the rate of rent inflation actually outpaced headline inflation. So you will see here, as at June, headline inflation was 15.9%, but for mainland corridors, annualized, the rent has grown by more than 40%, and for island, especially the prime regions, rent has grown by 51%. So you will see here that there is landlord actually have this premium over the actual headline inflation. So, and because of this, it was not surprising when we saw in our fifth survey, 80% of the people that we surveyed in our research actually said that Lagos has become severely unaffordable. 80%. 80% said Lagos has become severely unaffordable. So in the report, we identified two types of affordability: absolute unaffordability and relative unaffordability. So absolute unaffordability majorly has to do with income. An individual earning 70,000 per month faces a 36 to 119% rent burden, even in Ikorodu. And majorly it's because of their what? Their low income. Then we now have the other type of unaffordability, which is relative unaffordability. You know, you can actually be earning reasonably well and still be struggling to pay rent. So that's relative unaffordability, especially if you want to live in Yaba or Surulere on the mainland. So a 500,000 naira per month earner, which is actually above median national income, can still have up to 40 to 60% rent burden in Yaba Surulere. Prof mentioned it in Yaba now. You know how much 2-bedroom is going for. In Surulere, the same thing. So can Lagos households actually buy? We modeled the mortgage, MRIF. So MRIF has been a very interesting development. And in fairness, it has actually helped to broaden home ownership. The last data actually showed about 1,900 households have benefited from MRIF. 1,900. It's not good, actually. But yeah, it's a good point in the right direction. But, the major concern we actually raised in the report is that how many Nigerians can even afford this based on their income? How many? So we did this breakdown based on low income, lower middle, upper middle. And then when you look at this, you see that a lot of Nigerians, and by the way, MRIF actually start from 10 million up to 100 million, which means that the majority of people here, they cannot afford, they cannot actually access MRIF. So one of the policy recommendations is that the government actually even needs to do more to make mortgage at lower interest rates and also at broader access, to Nigerians. So when policymakers say affordable housing, what exactly do they mean? Is it 15 million to 40 million units? So even at MRIF subsidized rate, only upper middle income households can service that mortgage. So this is a lower income finance exclusion problem, not necessarily maybe a universal affordability failure. So we talked to some of those real estate developers, and one of them said that, I cannot remember the last time someone in Nigeria bought a house from me. Even people in oil and gas earning 3 to 4 million a month are still struggling to afford a decent property here. And this particular developer actually declared that the majority of his clients are from the abroad. And I think Prof actually made reference to that in his presentation. Diaspora. Next slide, please. So, in Lagos, a lot of times, we have the periphery, whereby on the surface, rent can look cheap. So we decided to do what we call effective rent burden matrix. And the whole idea is that a lot of people actually just look at rent, they forget what it costs them to get them to their house, which is also very important. So we decided the international benchmark is that do not spend more than 30 to 35% of your income on rent. But actually, if you are looking at that alone, you can actually end up spending more on commuting, which at the same time is going to erode all your savings on your rent. So we decided to look at this, what we call effective rent burden matrix. So what we decided to do was we decided to capitalize commuting cost into rent. So, and we use Marina as our benchmark. So, and this matrix is built on 3,200 listings across 15 Lagos submarkets. And you see this is a very interesting insight actually. Look at the headline rent here in Aja. You might be able to get, let's say, cheaper rent in Aja compared to Yaba. But when you now look at your commuting, especially if you do formal work over a year, most of your so-called rent savings are already eroded by the end of the year. So sometimes there is a hidden cost to cheaper rent, especially here in Lagos. So we modeled Ikorodu versus Yaba, and we also did we modeled Ikorodu versus Yaba for Marina. Marina was our location. So sometimes what you do not pay for in accommodation, you might pay for in transportation. And that's why we are trying to we are looking at, there is a need to actually for renters to look beyond only rent-only metrics. Do you understand? And also look at their own specific circumstances, such as commuting, to capitalize it into their rent burden. Next slide. So, like I said at the beginning, infrastructure is the primary price mechanism. So we are beginning to see some interesting developments in Lagos, and I think all of us have been paying attention. Some of those infrastructure projects that the government has been doing, like the Coastal Highway, the Red Line, the Blue Line, and the Green Line that was actually approved for construction in April this year. And according to international evidence, the properties 1 to 2 kilometers close to train stations tend to command about 10 to 20% or 25% premium in their value. So we are beginning to see re-emerging demand in the catchment areas along those axes, along those corridors, which is actually boosting their rental yield. So infrastructure, if you are living in Lagos, whether you're a renter or you're an investor, infrastructure is a very important variable that you cannot ignore, that you cannot afford to ignore, because it affects your rent, it affects your investment, especially in the real estate space. So, and when you look at this, we look at the rental yield, and we saw that in Lagos, there are 3 Lagoses. There is the capital preservation Lagos, there is the productivity Lagos, and then there is also the periphery Lagos, Badagry, Ikorodu, and towards the Bejuleki side. And then for capital preservation, people always wonder, why do you have to buy so expensive properties in Ikoyi, in VI? People that do, they do it for capital preservation. Then we look at productivity Lagos, Yaba, Surulere. So what we are seeing in those locations is anybody that is actually familiar with Yaba properties will say that Yaba actually has constrained supply, and yet demand is ever rising. So, and because of that, rent keeps going up. So if you are talking to a Yaba agent now, they will tell you that if you are not going to take it, another person will take it. We don't have to waste our time on you. So it's a very interesting and unfortunate development. Next slide, please. So we did a PESTO analysis of Lagos housing market. We looked at, for the political angle, we looked at the Land Use Act, the Aegis digitization that Prof was talking about, that a lot of people need to be aware of. We also look at the economic factors, the depreciation in the Naira, about 70% depreciation of the Naira against the dollar in the last 3 years. If you talk to developer, if you talk to builder, they will tell you that the prices of construction materials have gone up a lot over the last 3 years. And that cannot be divorced from the devaluation of the Naira over the years and high financing cost. Then we look at the social factors. 70% of Lagosians are permanent renters. Interestingly, there's actually a research that was done in the UK about how young folks tend to delay getting married and giving birth just because of high rent. It makes sense, doesn't it? So you cannot marry when the rent is too high. So, and then we also look at the technological angle of it. Property tech platforms are beginning to improve price discovery. And again, Aegis is aiding transparency and peri-urban coverage, but unfortunately, peri-urban coverage is still incomplete. There's a lot of work to be done in the periphery of, especially Ikorodu, Bejuleki, where there's still a lot of dead capital in form of land, because maybe those lands, they don't have title, they are not properly registered. So, and which needs to be unlocked. We also look at the legal side of it. Prof spoke about this, and I think some of the panelists also mentioned it. Before you buy any property in Lagos, always make sure that you do your due diligence. So that at the end of the day, you are going to avoid all of those preventable demolitions. So environmental, as we all know, Lagos sits 1.5 to 5 meters above sea level. And Lagos, we generate a lot of waste in Lagos, 13,000 to 15,000 tons per day, which is above WHO limits. So we look at some of those and how we can actually tackle them. So capital allocation, where capital is mispriced, where capital is underpriced, where capital is underpriced. So interestingly, a lot of the developers that we spoke to, they spoke highly about the Ibejuleki access. That if you are looking at the future of Lagos, that's where Lagos is expanding to. So, and another interesting insight that we got from some of those developers we talked to, politicians are selling most of their properties at distressed prices ahead of the election because they need funds to run those campaigns. So, we also look at the supply versus actual demand by price band below 15 million, where we have the demand share of 55%, but supply share is actually quite small. Then 15 million to 80 million, which is the mid market, where we have demand share of 35% and supply share of 10%. And then 80 to 200 million, where we have an oversupply. And then above 200 million, which qualifies as luxury properties, which actually account for a lot of the new supply. So we are seeing that there's a capital, Prof actually mentioned it, the Lagos housing problem is a capital architecture problem. So we are saying that the houses that Lagosians actually need, nobody wants to build them. So everybody wants to produce luxury. So there is an overproduction of luxury in the market and underproduction of affordable housing. Next slide, please. So we looked at 10 routes to market entry. The MOF mortgage, 9.75%. I think this is actually one of the lowest interest rates you can see. High financing rates is one of those factors that we actually identified as holding a lot of Nigerians back from home ownership. So 9.75% per annum, and you can give just 10% equity, and you can spread your amortization over 20 years. Like I mentioned, 120 billion has already been deployed to around 1,800 to 1,900 families. Developer installments, they are developers that you just need to give them 20 to 30% deposits, and then you spread your payments over 12 to 48 months. And also, we have cooperative societies also, where you just have to be making regular contributions, and because of they are going to use their pricing power to negotiate for cheaper land and cheaper construction materials. Then another thing that you can also do if you are looking at the market entry, like entry into the real estate market in Lagos, but you don't have the capital, land banking, which is actually for patient capital, 1.5 million to 8 million naira, you can still get some land in the periphery of Lagos, but you have to be looking at 5 to 10 years in waiting period. So, and then we also have some property technology platforms that allow you to actually invest 100,000 naira in properties, and then you get a share of the rental income every month, which is spread over a year. And then there are actually some platforms that are coming up now where you can actually crowdfund. Developers can crowdfund at a reasonable rate. And then we also have shortlets co-hosting. I think that has become a buzz already. If you see some apartments, instead of being available for rental, they're available for shortletting. And then the Federal Mortgage Bank, there are some products around this, whereby you can actually, at lower interest rates, you can actually also apply for construction loans and stuff like that. And then construction equities, real estate investment trust. Prof spoke a lot about real estate investment trust, the opportunity there, which Nigeria is not actually tapping into. Globally, the real estate investment trust, I think there are about 1,000 of them globally, and they have a market capitalization of over 2 trillion. But in South Africa alone, real estate investment trust, they're about $10 billion industry. But in Nigeria, we are still below around $500 to $600 million. So there are only 4 real estate investment trusts listed on the NGX, the UPDC REITs, SFS, Union Homes, and the Nigerian real estate investment trust. So there's a need for us to actually deepen that market. And so we look forward to seeing a lot of handshake between policymakers, academics, consultants, and investment bankers to make that a reality. So from shelter to capital, 11 observations. So again, like I mentioned, everybody wants to produce luxury. Nobody wants to produce affordable housing. So for developers, the insight is that there's a lot of opportunities in the mid-market. So, and that actually give opportunity for capital reallocation. And then for tenants, of course, rent is a liquidity tax. So, and always make sure that you actually provide, it's a liquidity tax that you actually have to provide for. And at the same time, while you are looking at your headline rent, you also need to look at your effective rent burden, which is actually more important. And then for government, again, there's a need for them to refocus attention on mid-density corridors where a lot of working class Lagosians are concentrated in. For investors, there's what we observed in 2025-2026 is that rental yield are beginning to compress. Why? Due to high property values. When property values are going up, there's a limit to how much rent can grow. And because of that, you see a compression in rental yield. So, which also means that there might be an opportunity for capital reallocation there. So, again, like I mentioned, demographical insight is that persistent rent burden delays household formation. So, and then for valuers, commit adjusted cap rate, homeowners, if you are going to take a mortgage, you need to stress test your mortgage so that make sure that you keep your repayment below 30 to 35% of household income. And then for financial institutions, underwrite, there's something they call location driven underwriting, which is beginning to gain traction in the developed market. And it's something that a lot of financial institutions here in Nigeria can also look into. And then the system insight is that in Ikoyi, VI, for instance, I think Prof actually kind of hinted on it, where properties are now being indexed in dollars. So they are telling you that you coming with your Naira, you are not the target market. So next slide. So, and again, we have to start from the very beginning. So, and this is what our foreign instrument capital reform actually proposed. You cannot solve housing if you don't solve land problem. So land problem is the very beginning. And like we said, a lot of land in Lagos and in Nigeria in general, they are informal. So there is a need for us to actually convert the informal land into formal land so that they can serve as collateral, so that banks can lend against them, so that people can take mortgage against them. If you want to do mortgage now, banks are going to ask you, your land, your houses, are the titles perfect? So it's important. And then infrastructure value, betterment levies, uplift bonds. This will also serve, like the PAMSEC said, a lot of time, whenever we are saying that, this is where we need the government to come in, we are not saying that the government should provide all the capital. We know that the government cannot provide all of the capital. Lagos State budget, Lagos State is the richest state in the country, and even at that, there's a limit to what they can do. So the housing deficit facing Lagos alone is about 6 trillion, which is about 3 times their capital budget. So there is a need for private capital to also come into that space and play. So, and that's why real estate investment trust actually provide a very good opportunity for that. And Prof actually made a point, and I was feeling like, did we have a conversation before before he presented, which was Prof actually talked extensively about the real estate, the pension fund. AUM, PFA's AUM currently sit at over 31 trillion, and 75% of them are invested in fixed income securities. So, and one thing about PFA is that their funds are long-term and institutional. So there's a need for us to actually, we need to see a correction in that. There's the need for us to see mobilization of institutional long-term capital, away from government debt securities into actually productive sectors of the economy. And one of the productive sectors of the economy is what? Is housing. And it's going to even generate income for the PFAs. And by regulation, a lot of PFAs wouldn't want to come, they cannot even do direct property ownership. So one of the instruments that they have to do that, to do the investment, is the real estate investment trust and mortgage-backed securities. So there is a need for us to deepen that market so that we can unlock the capital, towards solving one of those challenges. So we also look at the risk. In the report, you're going to see a risk matrix. Whether you're a developer, whether you're a tenant, whether you're a financial institution, or whether you're an investor, this risk matrix, the risk framework will speak to you. So you're going to see there. I think one of the developers on the panel mentioned something about, cost overrun. As you're starting a project, you believe that, I'm going to spend 15 million on this project. But midway into the project, you're already saying that you're going to spend far more than that. So how do you mitigate that? We actually wrote about it in this report. Urban sustainability and long-term risk. I think this is a topic that is not given enough attention by a lot of people. And I think it's something that we need to look at. We need to look at the sustainability of the system that we currently have. Lagos is projected to have a population of 32 to 46 million by the year 2050. And the average Lagosian spends over 1,000 to 1,460 hours in traffic every year. Over 30 working years, that translates to 5 years. So 5 years of your life wasted in traffic. Yeah, so, and then West African sea level is projected to rise by almost 1 meter by the year 2100. And remember what we were saying, that Lagos actually sits below sea level. So these are some of the concerns that investors, financial institutions, need to be pressing in. In their investment analysis. So we mentioned, again, Lagos being one of the fastest growing mega cities in the world. Lagos sitting under 1.5 meters below sea level. And then the hidden earth cost of gridlock, and also the carrying capacity, the long-term carrying capacity of the city. Next slide. So conclusion. So where is the capital moving to? Ibejuleki corridor, red line mainland nodes, mainland legacy zones, and then prime land such as Ikoyi. So our thesis is that Lagos housing is transitioning from a static pricing system to a dynamic spatial capital allocation mechanism, which is in line with Prof. Thesis too. It's not exactly a housing crisis problem. It is a capital architecture problem. And all these stakeholders, developers, consultants, academics, investment banks, all of us need to put our hands on deck to solve the problem. So, one group, 4 ways to act on this research. Again, we strongly believe that GTI Group is actually well positioned to actually solve some of those problems. We have our securities, our stockbroking firm, through which that actually helps with the distribution of real estate investment trust. We have our capital, SBU, which actually provide corporate finance and advisory for developers and governments, corridor underwriting, and real estate investment trust structuring and packaging. And then we also have our microfinance bank, which provides developer financing. So those are some of the ways that we actually partnering with different stakeholders, towards solving some of those problems. And if any one of these speaks to you, you can always go and see them. Their desks are behind you. Next slide. So that's my presentation. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, a round of applause for Abiodun, please. Yeah. So, yes, that's the next phase we are going into now. Yes, just 5-10 minutes Q&A and then we're done. So if you have questions, please indicate. we're just taking 2 or 3 marks. Questions, please. I know someone at the end back wants, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and oh Jesus. Okay. 4, 5. Okay, let's make it very quick, very fast. Yeah, so we can be. So where's my Prof? So all the questions are going to Prof, right?
No, the panelists are here to help me. Okay, let's just, it's a, nobody is writing any exam. We're all co-producing. Okay, we're all co-producing. So this keynote, this is no longer keynote too. So your bill is increasing. Okay.
All right.
The first question. Yes, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is on the CFO. You mentioned that it could be accessed online or e-assessment kind of, yeah. So how long does it take? I know like doing it manually, it usually takes a very long time to, get. So the online platform, is it like it's faster, or what's really the difference in terms of doing it?
Okay, I hope this thing is being recorded so that I can send my bill to Nambulu.
All right, thank you.
Sincerely speaking, when I discovered it, I was shocked. Big infrastructure powered by World Bank for them. I really mean it. Those 2 books, The Mystery of Capital and Why Nations Fail, get it to buy. It tells us where we are. So, like anything that is IT driven, it's like, who believe that in Nigeria today, you can get your passport within 1 week? How many of us have tried it? You've gotten your passport, how many days? 2 weeks. How many of us have done less? 1 day. I did 1 day. And you did 1 day. So who will believe it that there will be a point in this country that you can get passport 1 day? And now things are it has not. Well, you just pay. And that's when only hello, please, so that's when no. I beg. That's when it's only you from your village. No, there are no many to attend to. It got to a time that became messy. But what I'm saying is, listen, I'm not
one house, please. One house.
I'm not a mouthpiece. Listen to me. I'm not a mouthpiece to government. There was a time they don't call me for their events. There was a time I presented the Women Development Center at Abuja. And I transported myself to Abuja with my money with the hope that the return is when they pay me my honorarium that I'll buy. And as I was moving closer to after my presentation, everybody was running away from me. And as I was moving closer to the person who invited me, he was running away from me. He didn't want to, everybody disassociated from me. Because they asked me to present for 40 minutes. 1 hour, nobody could raise hand to stop me. And by the time we finished, only General Rees came nearer to say, that's a good one, Prof, but you have stepped on toes. So, and I found out that it was the academics, we against government, private sector against public sector. You can't grow a nation like that. We just have to come together and work. We have to beg ourselves. So we started reaching out to them. There was a day Ministry of Housing shut down. They were all in Unilag. By the way, I want to advertise our program. We have master's program. Because one of the problems we are facing in this country is knowledge. Like we have said, there were so many things put in place. to make things easier. The way you can get your passport in a day, if you have all your requirements and you are processing your CFO, as they say, scan. You know, you can open bank account now under 1 second. You get to a point, they say, do your picture, scan it. You scan it, open account. All this OPay and all the rest. Why does it take conventional bank 2 weeks to open account and OPay will open it within 2 seconds? And OPay is making so much money. In the same manner, if you have all your requirements, your land, you have done this, you have done that, and you are just attaching, you get your approval. You get your approval. They have done it because Lagos State government have realized that they alone cannot build Lagos. People, a nation is big. A nation is big. It's not government that is building, it's private sector. And they have to do all these things that will make it easier. But we found out that there's knowledge gap. I've discovered that when I was 2007, we were in National Housing Committee. And we were discussing, say, REIT will solve the housing problem, housing fund problem in Nigeria. In a meeting that we started on Monday, when we discussed, we said, if they can bring REIT, if they can just introduce REIT. On Friday, when we wanted to share the grace, a man that represented the federal ministry, a director, said, you people have been saying since Monday that REIT will solve our problem. Where does REIT live? Why can't we invite this REIT to come and help us? Together with Femi Adewale that we brought from London. Femi was shocked. That's the director. Those are the people making policy, thinking that REIT is human being. Because General REIT was the chairman of FHA. So he thought REIT is another REIT, you know, brother to REIT. You can't bring this REIT to come and solve this problem. That's when I know there is knowledge deficit. Because all these things we are saying since morning, there's no knowledge. And that's why the Center for Housing in University of Lagos, that's why we started it. From that experience, that no matter what you know, no matter the facilities and infrastructure advancement, once the people that are driving it, they are not knowledgeable. So in the center today, we have masters. And it's a place in Africa that we have 27 PhD candidates as we are talking. Only PhD in the center. So there is a program that we did for the Redam people. 5 weeks online training. We can't be doing try and error with real estate. There are 3 estates in Lekki Corridor. Paradise 1. How many of us know that estate? Paradise 1, Paradise 2. Now they have Paradise 3. Paradise 1 and Paradise 2. The developer made no kobo. They made no kobo. Thank God they have large land that they could do the third phase. It's the third phase that they are now applying the mistake, correcting the mistake that they are making money. So, don't do try and error with real estate. Come to the center for this real estate. I will share the program we are having for real estate developer. We have 21 facilitators, and they were the best in this country. Akim Oguniro, the man who ran UACN, is one of the facilitators. Femi Adewale, they were brought from capital market to train from people from the ministry. We need to increase knowledge in this aspect. So, if you go to the place today, the ministry, the Land Bureau, every last Thursday of every month, they do clinic. About 50 people. When you register, it's 50. They you ask questions concerning your project, your board, wherever, and they will solve it for you. They will resolve it for you. So, it takes short. As long as you have the requirement, you can get it within 1 week.
Thank you very much, Professor. So once your documents are ready, you start the process on your door.
Listen to me. There was a time when I came back from US, I had an exchange program. I had an exchange program in US. And I came back 2004 and I was making the presentation. Because when you go for their program, they call journalists every Tuesday, very close to us here. You do the presentation on your exchange program. So I made my beautiful conversation with so much hope. But the journalists bombarded me with questions. My young son, still in secondary school, was the person who did the coverage, media coverage. Then on the way home, he said, Dad, it's like they didn't believe in what you said. I said, yes. I said, those people that are asking questions, he said, they are graduates. But look at the way they look. They've been frustrated. Nigeria has frustrated us. We don't believe in what is happening around us again. And I don't blame anyone. I myself, I opened my mouth. I went there accidentally. We had a workshop. I will also advertise that workshop. It's in November. People came from Sierra Leone because they are also doing their land reform. And they said they wanted to visit Lagos State Bureau of Land. It was then I saw how far they have gone. And I told them, I said, that is in this sector, I don't know that you are doing all these things. How much more? Other people. What I'm saying is truth. There could be delay, but that delay you will know is from you. Because when they say scan because you must have shattered. You must have shattered that your land does not fall within acquisition. That report that your land is free. By the time you get to the place and say, scan your survey plan, scan your charting report that is free, and you could not do it, and you run back to the ministry to collect the report, then it takes weeks. But as long as you meet the requirement, and the reason, I'm telling you, the GM of LASPA almost lost his job because the governor was annoyed that on this e-approval of plan, Lagos have invested, and yet people are not embracing it. And they said that it's because, and somebody said at the meeting, that is the civil servant that is frustrating the e-approval because they still want to have interface with the people so that they can collect. So they quickly had a town hall meeting. And that was not the truth. How many town planners do we have there? Unless they go e-approval, no government agency can ever meet this population requirement. There's nowhere in the world that individual takes plan to planning office. All over the world, like I kept on saying, all these things we are recommending, they are the kind of put solar panel to replace NEPA. You can't replace NEPA. You can't replace NEPA. You can't replace electricity through solar panel. It's expensive. It's expensive. 10 million solar panel cannot drive your AC. So, all this short method that we are coming together, it can't work. We must make government to work.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it, sir. So let's take one or two questions more, and then can you just give us?
Okay. Thank you, sir, for everything so far. Now, my question, I got brought out.
Please,
The first question is, how do we come back to this kind of gathering and ensure we don't repeat the same thing we've said? Because this is what we do every year. We always talk about how do we move from talking about it to talking about where we were last year and where
the mic is working. Okay.
All right. Another question from me is that now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is serious about housing scheme in Nigeria. Now, one of the things I've observed so far about recovery of house from through unscrupulous means, why can't most of these houses that were seized, why can't it also be channeled to reducing the housing deficits in Nigeria? Another one is that most problem developers have, this is the last one. Most problem developers have presently is infrastructure. Why is a developer the one trying to provide a good road, a third road? These are government work. That's why even if you check lots of developers now, instead of investing in Lagos, most of them are diverting their investments to Abuja because they know they don't need to build road, they don't need to provide basic amenities that government are support, because this cost will always be on the final consumer.
Should I answer or ask everybody? Okay, 2 minutes. Yes. You know, when you want to a restaurant of 2 minutes, you don't invite a professor and a preacher. But I also have 2 o'clock meeting. That's the saving grace you have. I have 2 o'clock meeting in the university. So the truth is this: how do we stop from talking to action? It's in our hands. So, and somebody said it during the panel that it's by working together. If the next time we are meeting is next year, it can work. So after this meeting, the spirit of those who have organized the meeting, there should be a working group on this problem. Identify how do we work together with the professional bodies, with REDA, with all of them. So the other question that you asked, that's not within our power. That's why I'm saying that there must be someone up there that is called government that you and I voted for, that we must make accountable. Someone was a local government chairman in Bauchi State. After 1 year, the youth went to the office and said they just come. And they said the chairman said he was not ready. He was not ready to see them. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they were sending the secretary. They said, it's the chairman that we wanted to see. By 4 o'clock, all the ladies removed their wrapper. They slept on the driveway. So the man could not go. He said, it's serious, so chairman, come and talk to these people, because there is no way you can drive out. They all slept on the road. And the man came. And they told him, the youth, they said, did they tell you that we came with cutlass or stick? We voted for you and it's 1 year. We just want to ask you what you have done. In the last 1 year, tell us 2 or 3 things you have done. And the man could not say anything. And that was the beginning of development. There is pothole in Ogudu, Emmanuel Street. And you vehicle run into that pothole. You say, Tinubu no go die better in Abuja. And the office of the chairman is opposite you. Ogudu local government headquarters. Until we begin to make our people, because government does not do it, we'll do it ourselves. Government does not provide AC, we'll provide solar. It can't solve the problem of our nation. We have to force our government to do the right thing. We have to force our government to do the right thing. Somebody raised a question 2005 when we were talking about this developer. Somebody have an allocation of parcel of land at Abuja, one of the REDA members. And he reported at the meeting that the land they gave him was so far from the road that as he was talking, he has unfilled 300 million. He has not reached half of the way to his plot. And he has spent 300 million. When you spend 600 million to fill the road to your plot, how many now where is the money to develop your? And, because many of us we discuss, most of our solutions were not empirical. They were not research driven. So we just make spurious recommendations. Jack Conde told us that there's nothing wrong with CFO. There's nothing wrong with land use decree. The land use decree is a blessing. And let anyone stand here and say that this is the problem with the land use decree. He said he used land use decree to govern Lagos. He used it to acquire land to build estates, 16 estates. He used land use it to build school and remove schooling from 3 sections to 1 section. Where is it written in land use decree that approval should take 5 years of CFO? Where is it written that is the governor that should sign it? Where is it written that they should charge 5 million? It's all written there. It's the administration of the law that is problematic. Lack of political will. There's nothing wrong with the decree. but all of us were hiding behind it. He said he used it because they asked Babaja Konde, why? He said, I was able to sell land. I was able to sell house at 4,000, 3-bedroom flat, 2-bedroom flat, 3,000. He said, I was able to do so because I recognize that it's my primary duty as a governor to provide land. It's my primary duty to provide infrastructure. What I charge people, the amount I use to build the structure. I do not charge them for what they voted me in to do. Like somebody said, we pay for, developer pay for infrastructure. How will land not increase? But the government will not change it until we come together.
Exactly.
As long as we are acting in silos, it will not solve the problem. It's a collective will.
Yes,
Collective
very
will.
important.
I think that's all the question.
Yes, there's one last one. But one very important thing that the prof said is the importance of research in whatever solutions we're preferring. And that ties back to
what
we are doing
we have
today.
seen there, here today.
Very important research.
This research. The last one.
All right, the last and final question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, do you want to whisper to him so that you can ask your question?
Sir? Can I
Is it my slide?
Yes.
Oh, the research is not cheap. You have to buy it too. MD, sir. They said this research report, how much is it?
Yes, so Abiodun Oguniyi, yes, he and his team are on ground to answer questions relating to acquiring or getting the report.
Okay.
So they are at the back also, yes.
Okay.
But the report is available to anybody that is interested.
Okay. My question goes to risk in the real estate sector.
Yes.
Because we are talking about how to unlock capital, from pension funds, into real estate using REITs. So my question is, looking at the macroeconomic framework, they are borrowing presently at about 16%. So now, how do you expect, real estate to be able to borrow from that kind of fund when government is already borrowing it at 16 point something %, considering the risk factor that is in the housing sector? So
you came late.
I didn't come here. I'm here.
Were you here since morning? Because that's a question of a late comer out. Because we're starting from somewhere. I took us through the real estate value chain from land acquisition to the capital market. I took us through it. And somebody told us during the panel session that, look, one thing I tell my students every year is that all of us here, let me ask a question. Real estate investment, is it a long-term or a short-term investment? It's a long term. I want to equally ask us, bank, capital market, which one offer long-term or short-term? Capital market. For you now to go to a short-term market, to acquire short-term fund, to fund a capital market, a capital project, a long-term project, is financial mismatch. The end of it is death. So many. A radar member about 20 years ago, in an essay that is almost opposite Channel Television now, took 1.8 billion to do infrastructure of his estate from a bank. By the time he finished the infrastructure, he had to sell each plot for about 50 million. By the time you look at the cost of what he has borrowed, the plot was still selling around that area 12 million. Mishman, his tongue turned black. He almost lost his life. Until we grow our economy, that we don't rely on money market to fund long-term projects. That's why we are saying that how come on earth that a nation that has 13 trillion opportunity in REITs Yet, government is the only one using it. So until we redesign, we re-engineer, we deconstruct and reconstruct the architecture, we are not moving anywhere. All we are recommending are palliatives. But for the future generation that we are building for, we can. You can never borrow from bank to fund housing project. It will never work. And when my friend told me the successful people we see among the real estate developer, they told me one of them that is doing well today. He said when he wanted to go into real estate business, he went to Enugu to talk to a friend who was doing well. Now, how are you doing this? He said, look, the secret of it is that I never borrowed. I never borrow. He always look for friends to come together. Private equity. How many will you deliver through that model? You can only do little. You can only do little. For us to really do big, 1,000, 5,000, 2,000, that is being done all over the world. I wanted to show a video that within 28 hours in China, they were building 1,000 units within 28 hours. Houses built like Lego, like we are playing Lego, stacking together. I will share if they create platform for our meeting here. And one of the ways to keep on the discussion after this meeting is to sustain this platform. So any news, any information, people ask questions, people talk about where have we gone now. That's the only way. So if you want to do into real estate, you are welcome. Come and do that course. That will start September 2nd. You will not think of going to bank. You will see alternative ways. But we still have to grow our country together because there are pockets of opportunity and there that were not connected.
Yes.
3.5 hours. Very enriching and eye-opening. And I think we're just scratching the surface. Because if you look at the